Hello, hello! Welcome back to another episode of I Captain of My Ship. Today I like to talk about what can you do when you become angry, when your child is disrespectful, is not listening, have a word back. What can you do as a parent to make the situation better in future? What are some things? Well, I will talk about this after, of course, I reminded you of the introduction workshop that will take place about how to give space for emotions and limits to behavior when raising children. It can be quite a challenge, and I like to give some tips in that. For now, I like to continue, of course, with what can you do? Well, it's inspired by Fanny Keller, of course, very famous in the US, about what she did when she had her children not having, they were not listening to her. So what did she do? And I thought it was really inspiring me. And yes, it was also after I had a discussion with someone else this week who told me, what can I do when I have a big family and I am doing my best I can and I lose my temper? And the first thing I asked was, do you think there is a parent on this planet who is just never ever angry, has never been angry before? No, I probably don't think so. Well, that's true. I think we are all human, and it's not to say it's good to be angry. All I say that it's human to be angry, and it's not to say just do whatever you want and it's okay, because you can work on it. It's also something that can improve. That's what I believe. But yes, just lose it sometimes. It's what happens. It makes us human. So what can you do? Well, the first thing I said is I think it's important to know that the word sorry and apologize to a child if you did something that you regret afterwards. It's okay to admit that you did something, said something that you actually feel sorry about and think, oh, it was not what I wanted to do, or yeah, I'm sorry about that. So it's children will give you a chance, a new chance. And what I discovered, what I found out when I was raising my children, when they were living at home, by giving the example and going to the room of my children and apologizing when I had become angry sometime and I had lost my temper, that I would say, oh, I'm so sorry. I was just angry with you and I said something or did something and I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to hurt you. Then by giving this example, what I found out that children also were starting to apologize when they were not listening or disobeying or disrespectful. And I would say, hey, sorry, but this is the limit. You're not behaving like that, because of course I have my limits. And they will go to the rooms and think about it, and they will come downstairs and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just being disrespectful. It was not what I meant to do. By giving the example and telling them, I'm not perfect and I'm sorry for that, it was okay for them not to be perfect and apologize and really meaning it. So it gave us space to move forward as a human being and me as a mom trying to raise my children the best way possible I can with all the knowledge that I have, and giving the space for them to also grow and be human and do sometimes things that afterwards they would come up to me and say, yeah, you're right about that. It wasn't really good, my behavior. So It was an open discussion to do that. But what Fanny Keller adds, and that's also very important, I think, is what happens if you start to analyze what went wrong. Why did you ever become angry? Not to blame yourself. I think there's a very important difference between blaming yourself or taking the responsibility about your own actions. Those are two totally different things to be aware of. What happens when you start to blame yourself? You will start to think and make yourself small, and it will take away your self-worth and self-respect. So don't blame yourself, take the responsibility. Say, okay, I did this wrong. What can I do to make this work again, or to improve in a certain area? What can I do? So that makes you a captain, makes you strong, and makes you be aware where you want to sail. And if you blame yourself, you will shrink and you will make yourself small, and you're not open, because by taking your self-worth and self-respect, it's almost impossible to move for most human beings. So don't do that. Take the responsibility. So if you analyze what happened, most of the time you become angry because you feel disrespected or you feel unheard. That's most of the time what happens, why you become angry. Someone is crossing a line, of course. So that is something that normally most people make feel angry when those things happens. Well, when you take away the blame also from your children, by blaming them, it's their fault, they did not listen. I became angry because this person was disrespectful. I became angry because my child was not listening, or whatever. Blaming your children will help you to prove yourself. You don't have to change anything, because it was the mistake and the fault and the responsibility of someone else. If my child or my son or my daughter was not disrespectful to me, I would have not acted this angry. If you doing that, you do not have to change anything, and you have to wait till your child will improve his or her behavior, because it's not your fault. But what happens if you take away that blame from your child, and you take your own responsibility? It's good to be aware that when a child is having a certain behavior which you do not like, it's because it's giving a sign. It needs something. It's good to be aware of that. So especially a child where you have the most problems with, it's probably a child that is giving you so much signals that it is in need of something. And if you are honest, most of the time it's because you have not spent time with them as much as they need. Or are you talking the love language of your child? If you want to know more about the love language of a child, a few episodes ago I talked deeper into the love language of your child. So then am I talking the love language of my child? When was the last time I was talking the love language of my child and the first love language of my child? Then you're the captain of your ship, and you can sail and take other actions and other decisions in future. Well, what is something that you can ask when your child starts to misbehave, in our words. What can you say? Well, one thing that you can ask your child, what do you need? Because it's misbehaving, because it is in need of something. So, what do you need? What happens if the response is very emotional and it's with a lot of emotion that this response comes from your child? Then you can ask, what do you feel right now? What happens if you act in a certain way like that? You're open-minded, you're asking these questions, what do you need and what do you feel? It helps a child to realize that it's worth to take time, it's worth to be hurt, and it's feeling hurt, and that's something that a child needs. It needs to be seen, it needs to be heard, it wants time with you. And if you're honest, most of the time when a child is misbehaving, it's because it's, well, first of all, it needs something, it needs attention from you. So if you don't want the to give the bad attention is better for a child than no attention. Be aware of that. So then it's time to schedule quality time with your child. Start reading a book together, start playing games, or whatever love language your child has. Start talking this love language with your child, and you will see that miracles will happen, and this misbehavior will disappear and will come up again as soon as you start to forget about giving this quality time or this speaking this love language. So I hope this inspired you to not blame yourself, but take the responsibility as captain of your ship, of your own life, and start and be aware that a child is in need of something when it starts to misbehave. And by asking the two questions, what do you need right now? And with a lot of emotions coming out, what do you feel right now? A child feels heard and seen. And I hope this inspired you. Thumbs up if you liked it. And I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye bye.